Hey, it's David Andrew Wiebe here. Hope you're having an incredible day. I know I am. I woke up today and I felt pretty tired, to be honest, but I'm going on break soon, so it's all good. I'm gonna get better. I'm gonna feel better. It's gonna be great. So originally the plan was to show up here for you a little bit early and warm you up for the interview for today, which should be with Amos Bracewell. Unfortunately, he's experiencing some technical difficulties today, so it's going to be just me. And I do have a hard cutoff of 2:40, but happy to hang out with you here until then. If there's things that we can get into or talk about today, we'll see. I have a few items on my list, and I'm not going to drag on and on about them, but we'll see where things go. And I'm happy to answer any of your questions or comments or whatever else you got going on. So again, Amos Bracewell could not be here today due to some technical difficulties. We're going to try and reschedule and give this another go next week. Today, you just got me. But to be honest, I think you should be starting to feel a little spoiled, just a little, because I put together a podcast episode and published it for you yesterday, and I'll be talking about that. And if all goes according to plan, there's going to be another one coming out tomorrow. So 2 podcasts plus a live stream. Hopefully you're starting to feel satiated and maybe even just a little spoiled with all this content that's coming at you this week. So why don't I get into the items on my list? And again, I'm just here to hang out with you. I'm here to answer your questions and whatever you got. But I'll get into these items. So first thing I want to talk about was the podcast just published yesterday with Stephen Galliano. I interviewed an entertainment lawyer. I'm trying to think if this is the first time I've interviewed an entertainment lawyer, but I know that I've interviewed somebody that's kind of in that realm before. But what was great about the interview was Stephen's a really chill guy, just like me, and his answers to questions, for the most part, were quite straightforward. And we talked about a lot of the trending and important topics in the music business right now, including streaming and the proliferation of streaming apps, music distribution, and of course, NFTs. Now, NFTs, or non-fungible tokens, are really all the rage right now in the music business. And apparently it's largely dominating the conversation on Clubhouse as well. Well, here's what I'm going to tell you. It's absolutely ridiculous. You probably shouldn't be giving that much attention or time to NFTs unless you've already got a sizable following who would love investing in some of your work. Otherwise, I'm sorry to say, it might be a little bit of a crapshoot. It probably will develop, and I don't know for how long, but as long as this infrastructure of the blockchain and Bitcoin and all that remains, there will be an opportunity for artists to earn another source of income. But is it going to solve all the music industry's problems? Is it going to solve all of independent artists' problems? No, it's not. And the way to get to success is to do what we've always done, which is work hard, persist, create great connections, maybe get a publicist if you can't do your own publicity work, build a great website, begin advertising once you've got a budget for it, and just release really great content. Those are the pillars. Those are the keys to really building a great music career. I might have missed one or two in there. That's okay. But that's really what you got to be doing to build a music career. And maybe as a side benefit or a byproduct of putting your time, your energy, and resources into growing and developing a great career, you will start earning some income from NFTs. But it's probably not going to happen the other way around. So what am I saying? I'm saying you're mostly wasting your time if you're an independent artist and you don't have much of a following to promote your NFTs to your fans. Then you're mostly wasting your time on it, and your time would be much better spent just writing great music. That's the reality of it. That's the truth. So here's the hard-hitting truth for you. Again, I will say Amos can't join us today because of some technical difficulties, but you've got me until about 2:40. We might cut it off earlier. It all depends. But I'm happy to answer any questions or comments or suggestions you may have today. And I have at least a few more items to go through with you today. But that was a really great interview with Stephen Galliano. So let me get that banner up for you so you can know where you can listen to that episode. Eventually, you'll be able to listen on our YouTube channel as well. But the best place you can go to is musicentrepreneurhq.com/podcast-archives. That's where you can hear the latest interviews. And we're up to over 230 episodes. We're inching much closer to 240 here really fast. So feel free to go on over to musicentrepreneurhq.com/podcast-archives. Don't forget to subscribe while you're there. Please do subscribe and listen and let me know your thoughts on all those episodes. The next episode that I'm coming up, I'm really just going to be teasing, and that's coming up on Thursday. Well, if everything goes according to plan. Last week, things did not go according to plan, which is why there were no podcast episodes last week. So we're kind of making up for it this week with a podcast on Tuesday and hopefully Thursday, maybe Friday. And that was a conversation I had with a life coach. I'm not going to say who it is, but basically her goal is to help you have a happy, healthy, successful music career, which seems like a pretty tall order when you stop and think about it. Happy, healthy, and successful. The music industry, the music business is a nonstop business. There's things going on all the time. It's high stress. It's hard working. And people often don't realize how hard some musicians hustle for their money, even if it's just a few grand or a few $100s per month. You know that as an independent artist, I'm sure, if you're watching and listening to this right now. But a lot of other people who might just be tuning in because they're tuning in or because they know me don't necessarily know that. So, I mean, that's something worth communicating just so people can understand and maybe have a little bit more respect for the fact that musicians already work their tiny butts off all the time to create the career that they love through music. But I think there is, as my guest said in that podcast episode, there is a meaningful balance that all of us can reach. There is a meaningful balance that all of us can create for ourselves, a routine and a life that is workable and sustainable. And I think that's super important. I think that's a huge topic. If we could create a sustainable routine, in other words, a routine that we could live the next 20, 30, 40, 50 years of our lives without burning out, without getting exhausted, then really long term, we would think much sharper, be able to make better decisions, and overall just create better work and better music. Don't you think? But oftentimes, that's very difficult, if not impossible, in the music industry, because it's like, if you want to give some interviews, you might have to get up at 6 a.m. some days, or even 5 a.m. some days to give a radio interview. And then if you got a show that night, well, you got to go and prepare for that. And you got to sound check, and you got to load up your van with all your gear and then drive over to the venue. And then maybe you have some last minute preparations to do. Maybe you need to restring your guitars. Maybe you need to go pick up some 9-volt batteries, whatever it might be. That can end up feeling like a full day already. And never mind anything else that you might want to try to do, such as posting to social media and updating your website and maybe putting together and writing a blog post about your latest show or performance experience. Ends up being a lot of work just for one day. And so it doesn't take much. It's not hard to see how that can add up very quickly and to become an exhausting, tiring, burnout schedule over the long haul. So we have the ideal. The ideal is a sustainable schedule that you can work day in, day out for the next 20, 30, 40, 50 years plus of your life, or a schedule that leads to constant burnout. So perhaps the happy medium is finding a balance that makes sense for you, that works for you. Some people sleep more. Some people don't need as much sleep. Some people are okay with getting up early. Many musicians would rather get up at the crack of noon, right? So in large part, if you can set it up in such a way that it works for you and you can do it sustainably and you can do it consistently, then you're going to get the best results out of yourself as well. I, in fact, have a friend who probably gets up at 11 or 12 every day and is up until 3, 4, sometimes 5 in the morning. And I once just was, jokingly saying to him, just ribbing him a little bit, saying, dude, get up at 8 a.m. or 9 a.m. and join the rest of society. But you know what? From the perspective I now have, I would say if that is sustainable for him, if that helps him be consistent, if that helps him do the work that he needs to do in his life and in his music and in his artistic and producing efforts, then more power to him. And so we don't have to be so rigid in thinking about this is the perfect morning routine and this is the perfect schedule and this is how I have to do everything. Not at all. You can find a meaningful balance. You can find a way that works for you. So that podcast interview is coming later this week, probably Thursday, maybe Friday. But again, are you starting to feel spoiled yet with all the content that's coming at you? I hope so. And I'm here to answer any of your questions or comments. If you happen to be watching this live stream later, thank you. Thank you for joining us for that as well. I do have more talking points for you. Like I said, I don't want to belabor any of these points, but I'm here till maybe 2:40 or so, depending on what engagement is like. Amos Bracewell, the guest for today, could not join us. So originally that interview was set to start in about 4 minutes. Due to technical difficulties, Amos cannot be on today's live stream. That's okay. We're going to reschedule. We're going to try again. And I'm excited to let you know more about his courses and as well as his music career, and some of which is reflected back there. If you can see some of the things that are happening on those poster boards with dream boards and goal setting and keeping habits and whatnot. We're going to be talking more about that once that show is ready. Again, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast. I'll put the banner up here. musicentrepreneurhq.com/podcast archives. You can also search for the New Music Industry Podcast on any podcatcher or streaming site or Apple or iTunes or whatever. Wherever you go and listen to podcasts, you can search up the New Music Industry Podcast, and chances are you should be able to find it unless you're using a super obscure platform or some exclusive elitist platform that refuses to list my podcast. I'm mostly just being facetious and joking about that, of course. So next on the list, I was sent these in-ear monitors from Sennheiser, and I'm going to be doing a more in-depth review, a written review, probably on musicentrepreneurhq.com, although I might shop the article around and see where it might fit best. That is coming. Today, I thought I would just do a little bit of an overview of this product and what I think about it. Now, I do have an affiliate link for that. Let's pop that right up. So musicentrepreneurhq.com/IE100 That's what this is. The Sennheiser IE 100 Pro. So they sent me to have a look at this and review it. If I'm not mistaken, they're only about $100 US. So it's not a super expensive product, but it is surprisingly versatile. It works on Bluetooth. So you can pair it up with your smartphone. I would imagine you could pair it up with your tablet or iPad or whatever else that you have as well. And once it's connected, it's very easy to use. One thing that, obviously you have to consider with in-ear monitors is comfort. And I would say that overall the comfort is good. This portion right here will bend pretty much however you want it to fit over your ear. So that's a nice feature. I've gotten it to where it sits comfortably in my ear, but I've never gotten to the point where it sort of locks into place and stays there. Now, I haven't really had any trouble with it not staying there unless I'm bending down. If I'm bending down to pick something up or tie my shoe or whatever else it is, then I have had some issues with the in-ear monitors falling out. Aside from that, I've probably worn them for an hour and a half, 2 hours at a time, and haven't really had any issues with comfort. So that is definitely saying something. Portability is absolutely excellent. I love the portability of these. I can actually just throw them in my pocket and bring them with. Of course, if I don't want to lose them, then it's rather important that I put them in a pouch. But I could see these being perfect for travel. I don't know when that's ever going to happen again. But once the world finds its way out of the chaos that it's currently in, perhaps travel will happen again, and I'll be able to take advantage of these on an airplane or the various locations that I go to. While I was in Japan in 2017, I loved having my iPod with me, and I kind of underestimated how valuable that would end up being, because it meant that I could just listen whenever I was taking train rides. And in Japan, trust me, it's pretty frequent that you're going to be taking train rides here and there, even bus rides, depending on where you're trying to get to. And then you might just go to the mountains or elsewhere, visit a shrine or a temple or something like that, and then walk all the way to the top. It's another great place, obviously, to listen to some audio, right? So rather than carrying an iPhone, we all carry smartphones. So the IE Pro or the IE 100 Pro would be significantly more convenient overall for those types of journeys. Now, earlier I said that these were versatile, and they are. And what's cool about it is you can connect these to a battery pack. So you can use these on stage as well, not just for your smart devices, but also on stage. Now, I'm not playing on any stages right now, but these would have been absolutely perfect for when I was still playing with a worship team, specifically at Calgary Life Church. When I was still involved with them, I would have loved having these versus what I had, which was probably just a hand-me-down or a cheap set of in-ear monitors. Even though we used them every week, I just used whatever I had, because I knew that, for a good set, you're going to be paying a couple $100, if not several $100, right? Which is why I just went with whatever I had at the time. But if I had these, I would love to test them out and see how they sound in those types of live environments where you have a click and you have a mix of everybody else's instruments in your ears while you're playing your own. So you have a mix of your own as well. I would love to hear what these sound like in that situation. For the most part, I've used these to listen to speech. So things like podcasts and audiobooks and things like that. I would not say that the sound quality is stellar. These are I want to say $40 to $60 pair of headphones, a studio headphones, closed back. Nonetheless, these still sound better than just about anything I've ever owned. I've had other pairs of studio headphones. I've had other earbuds. I've had other in-ear monitors. Of any product that I've had for listening to audio and monitoring audio, this is the best product that I've personally ever had. So these are not going to compare audio-wise. They sound a little bit tinny with speech. And I can't imagine, I want to say I've listened to a little bit of audio or music, well, at least to the podcast themes, right? And I don't think they sound much better. So these are great for when you're out and about walking or doing chores, or perhaps traveling, sitting in a plane, sitting in a car or bus or whatever it might be. They're great for that. But for like mixing, no, these are not going to work. And if you just really want to listen to music for the pleasure of listening to music, or even if it's just background music, although, sometimes you like to pump up your music in an airplane, these would still work in a pinch, right? There's going to be better options. That said, for about $100 US, you can't really go wrong, especially with so much versatility and ease of use and relative comfort. The one thing I'll say that's just a tiny bit weird is you're going to put this over your head like this. So you have this little section of cable or cord that's always going to be hanging down in front of your neck. So I've always wondered, like, what are people thinking I'm doing? I just thought that to myself. I'm like, what are people thinking I'm doing when they see this? Even though, you probably couldn't see it from a distance and you wouldn't notice it immediately anyway. But what are people thinking when this is sitting right in front of my neck all the time? I've wondered that. But you know what? There's going to be more people using products like these anyway. I get that, other cordless options are quite popular as well. I mean, these are technically cordless. It's just that the cord connects both of the in-ear monitors. So when I first looked at it, though, I will say, like, what is this supposed to be? How does it work? But once I figured it out, these are easy to use. They're versatile. They sound decent, a little bit tinny. They're not going to be amazing for music, but for travel and for walking around, they're fantastic. So that's my audio review or video review of the Sennheiser IE Pro, which is a good product. It's only about $100 US, and you can find it at the affiliate link right there, musicentrepreneur.hq.com/IE100 Pro. And again, this is the video or audio version of the review, but there will be a more in-depth written review coming up. I have been working on that. It just hasn't been like the main priority. I have multiple projects and priorities right now. I think once I get this break in June, which is the plan, once I've had a nice break, I'll come back refreshed and be able to put the finishing touches on a whole bunch of stuff that I'm working on right now. In fact, I'm quite excited for the possibilities. Right now, though, I kind of have to invest in reversing burnout. And so I've kind of adopted 5 or so habits that have helped me reverse my burnout. And it's what's quite amazing about it is that it takes effort. It takes quite a bit more effort than sometimes you feel like putting in when you already feel like you're going through a little bit of adrenal fatigue. So things like walking for an hour per day. It's great. It feels good. I always feel better about myself when I do it. I always feel better physically when I do it. My feet and legs are often quite exhausted when I do it because I'm always carrying quite a bit of body weight. I'm not saying I'm fat. I'm just carrying quite a bit of body weight. And so when I walk that long, sometimes, especially if I'm a little bit out of shape or just haven't done it in a while, I will feel my legs and feet will feel far more exhausted. But that's not a bad thing because oftentimes I can sleep better at night. So you just feel so much better walking for about an hour. I usually try to aspire to 8,000 steps though, and that's closer to an hour 15 or an hour 20. The next habit is meditation. These days, I'm doing a lot of hypnosis audio type stuff, and usually about 20 minutes, sometimes 20 minutes plus. That has always been hugely helpful. I just feel so much more positive and full of life after I've done it. So it's worth doing. It's just that it doesn't always fit into, your life when you're feeling burnt out because you don't feel like doing much of anything and you have to do something to get out of burnout. The next thing is I fill a big tall bottle. I guess it's about 800 milliliters I call it the big bottle of green. And I will try to drink that daily. And it's minimal effort. And sometimes I still don't get around to it. Right now, I'm filling it with collagen, chlorella, and barley grass powder. So these are all powders. I've heard that chlorella is sort of the lesser spirulina. It's not as good because spirulina is supposed to cleanse your body and take the toxins out, where chlorella will actually leave them in. So I've heard. So I'm going to be replacing chlorella with spirulina, and maybe I'll add some other greens to it. Of course, there's other great products out there like athletic greens that you could check out. I'm sure people know about other stuff. Maybe it's from network marketing companies or whatnot that have really great products. But either way, whenever I drink this, I feel like I get way more energy. I will pair up the walking with 5 minutes of yoga. So again, when you're burnt out, you shouldn't be doing anything too intense physically. It's really not a great idea to do anything too intense because that could just further exacerbate the problem. But 5 minutes of yoga is not only doable and relatively quick and easy to do, I feel like it gets the blood flowing in a way that just makes you feel a lot better. So I found benefits in that, and I might pair it with some push-ups as well. Really just trying to strengthen my wrists, especially this one. I've had some issues with it this past year. Nothing crazy, but too much time at the computer. So really looking to strengthen those wrists. I've had to do push-ups on an incline. I think I've graduated from that to what they call girl push-ups, which is not a gender thing at all. So don't take it that way. And maybe eventually I'll be able to get back to, I could still do full-on push-ups, normal push-ups, but it's considerably more strain on the wrist. So once I've built up enough strength in that wrist, I'll get to that point. And then finally, no caffeine. Again, I'm not following any of these processes or habits perfectly to get out of burnout. I'm just doing them to the best of my ability. No caffeine has been quite important to the whole process because there's nothing like caffeine to tire out your adrenals. That's what I've discovered. So that basically means, and especially iced tea, because I think I've maybe developed a little bit of a sensitivity to iced tea over the years. It's always been one of my favorites, and perhaps I've overdone it. I'm sure I'll get to the point where I can drink iced tea again, maybe through juicing or just fasting from it for a while. I'll come back to it. But yeah, no energy drinks, no sodas with caffeine, and especially no iced tea. So that's kind of how I've been doing things, not perfectly. And I'm not worried about trying to do it all perfectly. I'm just trying to do it as much as possible because I know I'm going to feel better and have a little bit more energy to do the things I need to do each day, which are not insane. But when you're tired and you're burnt out and you don't feel like doing anything, sometimes it can feel a little bit excessive or insane. So that's what I'm trying to curtail. Now I went off on that track, but hey, I figured I'd share it with you because you might find it valuable. Again, Amos Bracewell was supposed to join us today. He couldn't be here with us today due to technical difficulties. That interview will probably move to next week or maybe the week after. We're going to try to sort that out, but he'll be on and to talk about the Gold Within program and everything else. So that's quite exciting. Stay tuned and we'll get to it. Now, while we're on the topic of Sennheiser, although I went off on a bit of a digression there, what's interesting about my first album as a solo artist, Shipwrecked My Sentiments, is that all the vocals were recorded on the same mic, and it was a Sennheiser mic, basically the equivalent of what would be a Shure SM58. Now, SM58 is not something you would typically use on a recording. And, although this was a great mic and perhaps even a little bit better sounding than the Shure SM58, in most cases, it would not be your first choice. I think our first purchases for our home studio at the time were like drum mics and things like that. So we really had limited options as far as vocal mics were concerned. And I think that's why we ended up using that. I ended up using that mic for tons of live performances, and it was perfect for that. So, that's a little secret from my first album, Shipwrecked My Sentiments. All the vocals were recorded on what was essentially a Shure SM58, and they don't sound half bad. Would not call that best practice. I would not even encourage anyone to necessarily do it that way. But if you go and listen to that album, although, I was still very much developing as a vocalist at the time, as far as the clarity and the sound we were able to get out of it, it's probably not half bad, right? You still want to start with, you can do a lot with EQ. As much as possible, you still want to start with a really strong sound source that you're happy with, right? So, in this case, I'm pretty sure at the mixing stage, a bunch of stuff was done to it to make it sound better. I was not the one mixing it, even though I did co-produce the album. I wasn't heavily involved in the mixing side of things, but I do know that certain effects and things were applied to it to make it stand out and make it sound better. I think we did okay, I can't complain. So that's kind of a rather surprising bit of trivia that you may not have known. I'm continue to make progress on the Renegade Musician, and I just really want to develop this into something that's awesome for you. And it's going to be a much bigger bundle, and there's going to be more to it. And in fact, I think I already announced that I was planning to turn it into a paperback book as well. So there's going to be a paperback book. There's going to be 3 ebooks. There's going to be 3 ebook pack. Right now, it's already 2, but I'm working on a 3rd one, which is the Renegade Music Marketer. And that's coming along. That's almost done, actually. Although recently, I think just due to lack of energy and time and things like that, I haven't been able to work on it as much as I would like. But it's nearing completion. And so that will ultimately be a much bigger bundle. I need to change the banner here because we're not talking about the Sennheiser anymore. There you go, the Renegade Musician. So you can buy the Renegade Musician ebook along with the Renegade Musician newsletter. Well, it's more of a digital magazine already. I think it's still for $10 at Gumroad. So pretty good, decent price, right? So yeah, the Renegade Musician, you can already get a part of the product is basically what I'm saying. I'm still developing other parts of it, including the Renegade Music Marketer, which is going to include cutting edge music marketing techniques to help you grow your music career. Because the bottom line is the ebook is going to help you find inspiration. And when you have inspiration, you feel motivated. But if you don't know what to do next, you're going to get stuck. And also, if you don't know how to sustain that inspiration, it's just going to fizzle out and you're not going to have a motivation to keep carrying on. Maybe it'll last a month, maybe it'll last 2 weeks, who knows? It's hard to say, but that motivation isn't going to last forever, right? So the ebook will get you inspired. The newsletter or the digital magazine will help you discover how to stay inspired and motivated so that you can carry on with your personal growth efforts. And then the Renegade Music Marketer will teach you the specific steps that you need to take to grow your music career using cutting edge digital marketing techniques. So all that is coming. I'm working on the Renegade Music Marketer right now, but you can get the ebook and the digital magazine right now for $10 at gum.co/Renegade Musician. I will make sure if you do purchase it that you also get access to the Renegade Music Marketer when that's ready. And of course, the Renegade Musician ebook is going to be turned into a paperback book. And there's going to be a lot of other resources to go along with it. So I'm quite excited about that. And that's kind of the main product that I'm looking to complete and develop right now. I'm just recognizing for myself that there's so much more than just the ebook that goes into the whole thing. You want to make sure you're developing all your marketing materials around it. And so that's obviously a longer development period than I'm used to thinking about, but it just makes so much more sense when I stop and think about it. And that's things like blog posts, podcast episodes, videos, emails, ads, things that tie into the ebook so that it can get in front of the right people and get the proper attention and traction that it deserves. So all that's a work in progress. But if you'd like to get the completed ebook and digital magazine, The Renegade Musician, you can go to gum.co/Renegade Musician. We only have one more thing to cover today. I just wanted to mention once more that Amos Bracewell could not be here today due to some technical difficulties. We're going to reschedule the interview and try again, perhaps next week or the week after. And quite excited about talking about the gold within. If you can see those posters behind me and the vision boards behind me, that's a product of the Gold Within program. And that might build a little bit of a curiosity or excitement for you, depending on what you're interested in. But I'm excited about talking more about that. And of course, I'm happy to answer any comments or questions you might have. But we do have a hard stop today at 2:40. So I got 20 more minutes. I'm not sure if we'll even go that long. Depends if you have any questions or comments. Final item I will cover today is the publishing that I've been doing over at davidandrewwiebe.com. I think we have a banner for that. Yes, there it is, davidandrewwiebe.com. Publishing daily, have been doing that since July 28th of last year. As I put this stream together, it's May 26th of 2021. So you do the math, we're almost up to a full year of publishing daily. And I'm quite excited about reporting on the results of that, what that has meant for me, what that has looked like, what I've been able to achieve as a result of publishing for daily for a full year. There's going to be a lot to talk about, and that is coming. But either way, if you'd like to follow along with the content and see what I've been publishing, obviously when you're publishing that much, there's going to be some great pieces and there's going to be some not so great pieces. But I've also deliberately done a lot of experimentation. So I've written things that are short form. I've written things that are about medium length. I've written things that are super in-depth and long guides. I've tried a little bit of everything just to see what works. And that's one of the things that even Seth Godin talks about. It's funny because I think he had something like 50 steps to getting more traffic. And he had a lot of ideas that were sort of conflicting and contradicting with each other. One of them was like write short, pithy posts. And then the other one was write long form detailed guides. And well, there you go. That's exactly what I've done to drive more traffic and to pick up some publishing. Well, traffic, obviously, SEO, obviously, and even some revenue, which I've been able to create several new or a couple new revenue sources through writing. So all that and more is going to be coming. There's another great place you can go to keep up with my writing, and that's on Medium. There's my Medium handle or address, as it were, davidawiebe.medium.com. And that's where you're going to see all my latest articles as well. Well, it's been a lot of fun hanging out with you. I think quite likely I will keep this live stream up on YouTube. I don't always do that, but I think we covered some interesting stuff today. And you can always find more at musicentrepreneur.hq.com. Like I said earlier, there should be another podcast episode this week. One was published yesterday with Stephen Galliano, so please go and have a listen. It's with an entertainment lawyer. And then we'll have an episode either tomorrow or Friday coming up with a life coach. And it was all about creating balance in your music career and being happy, healthy, and successful. Not the easiest thing, kind of a tall order, if you ask me. That's why it's such a great interview. And that's coming up. You can also just search up the New Music Industry Podcast wherever you listen to podcasts and just make sure that you're subscribed and tune in and let me know your thoughts. Look forward to interacting and engaging with you. Well, this has been a lot of fun. Thank you for joining me today, and we'll see you again soon, I'm sure, possibly even next week. Have a great day.